Well, border boys indeed, and we're with them at the perfect time. We could barely see them, they were so flat to the ground, and we've been carefully checking all the different Balanites trees that they like to spend their days snoozing in. And I have only ever seen them twice before. I haven't really spent too much time with them, but we're with them at the most perfect time of the day because they are almost certainly about to get up and go on the hunt. It is absolutely gorgeous down here. The light is incredible. It is a bit windy, but you know what? If you're with an awesome cheetah coalition, a bit of wind never harmed anyone. Now, these guys are quite prolific tree climbers. I've seen photos from the other guides of them right at the top of these Balanites trees. So let's hope they give us a spectacle today. And I think my plans are set for the rest of the day. I'm going to be right with these two glorious boys. Remember, this is 100% live from Kenya. Hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us. Now, for those of you who might have joined a little bit late or have just stumbled upon this live African safari, my name is Brent Smith. I have Batman on camera, and we have been adventuring, searching for the lost wildebeest herds or cheetah or white hyena or leucistic hyena. So we failed in 2, but we've succeeded in 1, and 1 out of 3 is not bad, especially with the amount of ground we've covered. We've probably done about 70-80 kilometers already today, and I'm ecstatic to be with these two. Oh, it's just the perfect time. Yawning, stretching is going to start, scent marking, and then possibly hunting. Now, 2 boys like this, they might chance it at a sub-adult zebra or a baby zebra, and there are a lot of zebra around here. So I think that's possibly what they might hunt this evening. And wouldn't it be a bonus if they manage to catch something, they get enough to eat, and then the white hyenas arrive on the scene. A 2-for-1 special. Because the white hyenas do come into this area where we are at the moment. Now, these 2 particular cheetah, they were 3 originally. They cover massive distances. So to give you an idea, they travel all the way to the Mara River, which in a straight line is probably 7 or 8 kilometers from here, around Majiachafu and Purangat Bridge. But this is their favorite area, this incredible open grassland full of dotted with Balanites. The last time I saw them was under a tree, probably the tree behind them, I think. So they do have their favorite spots they like to rest. But while we wait for these gorgeous boys to get up and get a hunting, let's go across to Scott, who's taking in the breathtaking scenery of the Mara.
We certainly have found a magical spot, one of my favorite areas of the Mara. We're in the kind of southwestern corner of the Mara Triangle, and we're looking further west. A lot of that view will be Tanzania that you're looking at. And how magical is this wilderness? Very, very fortunate for all of us to be able to explore this place together. And, of course, it's very useful when Jamie's got lion cubs playing around and Brent's found those cheetah, and that allows us to just take a kind of back seat and enjoy the views. So very exciting stuff on the other vehicles, and also just beautiful stuff over here. My name's Scott Dyson, and we've been having a great time, but sadly in areas with no signal. So we saw 2 lioness that had killed a zebra probably an hour before we got there, 2 big males that were fast asleep. So we've seen a couple of things this afternoon, but like I say, sadly they were in some low-lying ravines where we don't have any network. So we are now in a safe network area. If we do find anything between now and the end of the safari, we will be able to share it with you. So that's the good news. And the other good news is that in the future we plan on being able to more effectively work this area that we're looking at now. We haven't been able to the last few months because it's a signal black hole. We don't have any signal there, and I think that this area is going to provide us with a huge amount of sightings come the next migration, or possibly even before then. There's not as many vehicles that work that area, which kind of suits what we do. And you are now going to be whisked off to another big cat. I'm not sure if you've seen one of these yet this afternoon. Exciting stuff all the way down south with Tristan in South Africa.
Well, it is exciting stuff, Scotty, and the best part about it is that the combination with the Mara means that we keep getting these cat trifectas where we get the cheetah and the lions and the leopard all in the same safari, which is really very special. And it's amazing if you think about a year ago, that would have been a dream to have the three of them in one show, and now we're getting it fairly regularly, which is absolutely wonderful. So it is so great that the two of them combine as well as they do together. Now you can see Hosana is now out. He's dealt with the flies, but he is tired. That stomach is going up and down at a rate of knots, and that's because he's got a nice big full belly after all the meals that he's had over the last 2 days. Even though they haven't been big ones, they've still at least filled up that belly a little bit. And so he must have got some of Tundi's kill this morning. He had to have eaten some of it given how big his tummy is. So he's had a really nice feed, and that means that it's pushing up on his lungs, decreasing the ability to take in vast amounts of air, and therefore his breathing rate has to go up and quicken. It's also because it's quite warm today, and that's why he's chosen the spot he has to lie in. It's a nice shady, cool spot. The place that he's lying is where the mud is still a little bit wet, and that means that it's going to be a lot cooler than when the other sort of sandy areas that have been in the sun all day. So it's a perfect place for a cat to lie. David, you're wondering why leopards and lions don't mud wallow like hyenas do. Well, probably just from the simple fact that the cats don't really like to get wet. They like their kind of coat to be in good condition. They don't like to be bogged down with wet fur. But in saying that, is there are a number of cats that will cross rivers and will swim. If you go into the delta in Botswana, it's quite common to see the lions and the leopards walking through quite deep water to get to the other side. And there was actually a pride of lions down in the south of the Sabi Sand called the Charleston Pride, and there was a female and 2 young males in that pride, and they actively used to sit in the Sand River. So I have had many a sighting with them where they would sit in the Sand River itself. They would lie down on one of the sandbanks, and the water would be about chest deep while they would sit there, and they would just spend an hour or 2 just lying in the water, resting and relaxing. So it was really quite strange to see. So they do actually do it from time to time, but they just don't really like their fur to be wet, and that's more of the reason why they don't get wet like the hyenas and the wild dogs do. They tend to like to cool their bodies down. Probably also to do with the fact that hyenas and wild dogs are also a lot more active animals. They tend to cover a lot bigger distances than what the leopards or the lions do. You'll find that they end up in a situation where they will spend a lot of time resting, and then they have a period of activity when they chase and hunt and kill something, whereas wild dogs and hyenas are actively running for long periods of time, and their body heat and their body temperature must rise much quicker than what the cats does, and stay hot for longer, and therefore they go into water just to cool themselves down. So that is probably a theory. I mean, it's not a fact in any way, but it's just an observation from a personal perspective, and that would seem to make sense that these animals tend to, dogs and hyenas tend to run that much longer, that their body heat must be higher, and therefore it's a quick cooling mechanism to go into water rather than having to sit and pant for long periods of time, whereas cats spend a vast majority of their time relaxing and resting like this, and therefore they can pant themselves and cool themselves down via panting and that loss of water vapor which cools the blood in the tongue down. So for me, that's probably it. Whether or not that's true, I'm not quite sure. But so I think Hosana is going to be in a situation where he's going to be very, very sleepy for quite some time. The good news is that I can hear oxpeckers all around me at the moment, and the evidence of oxpeckers generally means that there are prey items. Bless you, wildebeest. So Wildy had a little sneeze there. So there are prey items around in the form of probably nyala and impalas and various other things that will be going to Cheetah pan and might even be trying to make their way towards this pan itself. And that's going to be good news for later when we get Hosana and the sun setting, you might find then he's going to get a little bit more active. And even though he's fed today, it still won't stop him from going after some food and actually trying. Now, the position that we're in now is really nice because we can see all of him, but I might just loop around just so that we can get some close-ups of his face and just change the angle up a little bit. Andrea, you're wondering what the name for Hosana means. Well, Hosana means the little chief. So that's basically what his name means, or little prince. And so it was given to him by Brent and James and all of the Vuatela guides, and it's because he comes from the royal lineage, which is from Kruger. So she was the queen of Djuma, and then Tingana, the duke of Djuma, and so it just seemed fitting to give him a kind of royal name. Now I'm going to try and just quickly get around and try and see if we can see his face and get a little bit of a different angle. And while I do that, I believe Brent's other spotted cats are starting to wake up.
They're indeed very slowly waking up. Occasionally glancing at the passing herds of zebra, there is a definitely more grooming, but more stretching, which are all really good signs that they are about to get up and get on the move. So very exciting. And as I say, I'm very excited. I haven't spent that much time with the border boys. Now, as I said a while ago, as we learn more about the Mara and we work through more of the Mara, we will be expanding our reach in terms of signal and comms and everything, and we're going to be able to discover incredible new creatures. And what have you spotted? There are some Topi up there. I wonder if there's a baby that started running around that might have attracted. There is. I think that's exactly it. See those Topi over there, Craig? I think there's a baby a little bit to the right. There we go. I thought I saw a tiny baby there playing, moving around. Now that is something that will definitely pique the border boys' interest. Now, a young Topi, much easier to catch than an adult, and also gives them a chance to feed on it before it's possibly stolen by hyenas or lions, both which are quite common in this area down south. That male has locked on at that little Topi running around and playing. I didn't do it. Is it the light that's making these cheetah look more golden, or are they actually more golden? These are quite golden boys, but it is definitely the light. We have absolutely superb light at the moment. Oh, roll over. And speaking of that, I just want to move a little bit around, because I think they are going to head towards where those Topi are. Let's give you a little bit of an idea about how absolutely gorgeous the Mara is this evening. So the sun is setting due west of these boys, and look at that. And especially with this Balanites woodland that dots the plains here, it is absolutely stunning. We can see the laser-like focus on the back guy, watching those Topi, particularly where that little one was. I thought they might head south closer to Tanzania. There's big herds of zebra there, but that baby Topi might change the plan completely. He's definitely far more interested in looking around than grooming himself at the moment. What's he seen down there? I can see some zebras in the distance. Just zebras that way. Now we can almost see all the way up the Salt Lake river system. So, Craigie, if you keep going a little bit to the left there, sort of right there where you are now. So right up there is where we were with that male lion about an hour or so ago. But right there in the distance, where my finger is, Francis, who's in Israel. Francis is wondering how we managed to identify the cheetah. Well, the cheetah do have individual spot patterns, but this particular two boys are well known. This is their territory, and they'll defend it against other males. Now, one of them has got very raggedy ears and makes them quite easy to identify. Now, these two were mating with a female called Musiara or Rani. She's got a couple of different names a while ago. So that she had cubs on the other side of the river. Now, female cheetah will travel massive different distances to encounter different males and to be able to mate with them. Here we go. Second one's woken up to the fact that there might be baby Topi on the menu tonight. It is just the most magic time of the day. It's also the best time of the day to be with cheetahs. So they do hunt throughout the day. However, their prime hunting is this last hour before sunset and the last hour after sunset. That is when they have their most success. And out of all the big cats, they're actually often more successful than lion and leopard. However, the biggest problem they face is that their kills are often stolen by lion, leopard, or hyena. So what are we going to have tonight, boys? Zebra or Topi? Or surprise us with an Oribi? Now, that's another thing that I've noticed the cheetah and the mara hunt quite frequently is the little Oribi antelope. Just keep checking all around us. Well, we're going to sit with these cheetah and we'll be back as soon as they move a muscle. But while we wait here, Jamie's doing a bit of birding with a very smelly bird.
Oh, two smelly bird making more smelly birds, actually. Your timing was pretty perfect as the sun goes down. Obviously, the beautiful sunset has put the ideas of romance into the vultures' heads. And we've just moved around to see if I can find the little cubs, and I've been distracted by a group of white-backed vultures. Not often we get to see them mating, so this is actually really very cool. Very, very cool indeed. Usually when they gather together in large numbers around a carcass, then you'll get mating scenes like this one. Listen, I don't know if you can hear it over the wind. Can you hear that or not really? Not impressed with him. It takes a little bit of maneuvering, that whole process, because of course you've got to align everything correctly, which is tricky when you're balancing on a dead branch. So the vultures have gathered here because this apparently was where the lions had a zebra carcass yesterday. Obviously they've finished that up and the vultures have picked a large portion of it clean. There's still a rib cage hanging around. But what I was hoping for, and what I'll go and chat to the guides about in a little bit, what I was hoping for, hi guys, was the, you've just been watching lion cubs play. You can't possibly be that miserable. What I was hoping for was that the little cubs would be hidden in their den site. I don't see any sign of them, but I'm certain that they're still around somewhere here. And what I'm hoping to do is to sit patiently, wait for that other lioness to come back, and then presumably she'll go call them out. I really don't think she would have moved them far away from where they were. There's the ribcage, by the way. They've spent so much time around here, and all of our our previous encounters with lions with small cubs is that while they might move specific den sites, they don't usually cover enormous distances with those small cubs. And I said it rained, and it certainly has, and it's going to again, by the looks of things. Very dramatic skies this evening. And I don't think enough for the lioness to have moved her cubs out of this drainage line completely. Okay, romancing vultures. Are you done for the evening now? They do make such iconic silhouettes, don't they? Oh, whoops. Okay. Here we go again. We're gonna... I thought they were going to mate again. That was interesting. One nearly fell out of the tree completely, bowled over by the other. A little bit of vying for best position there. Often when you see them like this, when they are mating, is it sets off a chain reaction. So the one male will mate with the female, and then the second male will step up and he will mate with the female, and so on. So while they do raise their chicks together as monogamous pairs, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are completely faithful throughout the year to their breeding partner. And I've seen as many as 6 males mate with the same female around a giraffe carcass. Hunched over, looking very much like something out of a Jungle Book. Kathy, you would like to know what the official rules are for keeping a bird list. I'm quite hesitant to put strict rules on the whole process, because I think that might detract from the fun that our viewers have in keeping the bird list. But the idea would be that, for you as viewers, the idea would be that we either have to put the bird on screen, or we maybe could do it by call if we can't find the bird itself. But essentially for us, we don't count it as having shown you a bird unless it goes on camera. So us taking a photograph or showing you a picture of a bird that we saw doesn't count, but us managing, and I say us, I have to say it's largely the work of our cameramen, who have to really be on the ball when it comes to birds. But we will, once we spot a bird, we'll show it to you, the cameraman will show it to you, and we'll tell you exactly what it is, and you can add it onto your bird list. Other than that, there are no real rules, to be honest. You can choose exactly how you go about it. If there's certain birds, I think, well, it's because we haven't been bird challenging in the Mara, which we kind of should do, I think. We usually do our bird challenges on Djuma, but I think that for newer viewers, it probably makes collecting the bird list quite difficult, because we don't always stop for the more obvious ones anymore. Maybe we should do that more often. Alright, we've enjoyed the sunset scenery. We're going to go back towards our lion cubs. Let's go and enjoy some sunset scenery with Scott. Alliteration.
Well, it certainly sounds like an interesting affair over there with Jamie and those vultures, and some beautiful sunset scenes. We have also found ourselves in a magical spot. Look at that. And it's not often we get a sunset from this kind of a vantage point. Often we're a little bit lower down and the escarpment is in the way of it. So really enjoying this, and the fact that there's not too many clouds swallowing up the sun, which it often does in the evenings at the moment, means we are getting spoilt with a magical sunset. Look at that. And also some interesting stuff over with Brent and those 2 cheetah. I hope that little Topi doesn't venture much closer to them. Everything seems quite calm and peaceful here. No immediate predators in the vicinity. Of course, there could be some sneaking up on the zebra as we speak, but there hasn't been any signs of distress. So it seems like these guys are okay for now, although there is a pride of lion that does like to frequent this area, the Egyptian goose pond pride. So maybe we'll bump into them. Beautiful, well done, Seb. Very fancy camera work. Hello, Ben. Good to have you on board. You'd like to know how long do the kind of average prey animals live for in the Mara, and it fluctuates greatly between, there's so many different prey species, from the small little dik-dik, who will live for probably about 12 to 15 years, and then on average I would say anywhere between 10 and 20 years would be the average kind of lifespan, covering the board from small herbivores to the bigger ones. But then of course you get random outliers like hippo and rhinos who can live to about 40, elephants to about 60, buffalo into their 20s would be a good innings. So it does differ between the different species. Look at that. Whew. That is most beautiful. It's a very still and peaceful evening out here. There's a very gentle breeze blowing, which is quite a relief. It was a warm day, and loving the change of temperature at the moment as we head off into our summer. It's not going to be a drastic change from the winter because we are only a few hundred miles south of the equator, so the seasons are not hugely different. Let's have a close look here. As peaceful as the scene is, there are two zebra clearly trying to work out who is the boss. It's these two that are standing kind of head to tail here on the left of the road, Seb. Yes, those two. No, the one was biting the other one on its ankle, and they can be quite ferocious actually, zebra, fighting amongst one another, killing foals. You get rogue herds of these stallions, young bucks like this, that will come in and kill foals as they flare. Oh, here we go. They can also be quite nasty to predators. Small animals like jackal, possibly even cheetah, can be nipped and bitten, maybe leopard as well. I've never been lucky enough to see a zebra chasing off a predator, but they do it. And as you can see, they like biting. Biting. Ooh! Oh no! Good work with the punch zoom there. Look at that! Why is that zebra tolerating that? Maybe it's more gentle nibbles than we think, and kind of a playful wrestling, as young adolescent human boys often do. Now, as entertaining as they are, I think the sunset will possibly be worthy of upstaging them. So let's swivel across there quickly. Cha-ching! Look at that. Well, if that doesn't want to make you come out here and experience an African sunset for yourself, I'm not sure what will. So if you can, make a plan, book a trip out here. It would be wonderful to cross paths with you on your safari. We see quite a few people who do join in on the shows, and it's always wonderful to touch bases with people who have been following us along on these safaris from all over the world. Now, we would love to have a one-word tweet from all of you guys to describe how you're feeling and the beauty of this scene. Off you go. I will be thinking about mine. I've got Wi-Fi on the vehicle, so I can also tweet my thought. Maybe I should do that. Don't forget to hashtag Safari Live on your one-word tweet, of course. Hello, Francis in Israel. You've said that this is peaceful, and it certainly is a very, very peaceful scene we are enjoying here. You guys can possibly hear the zebra's hooves and their little squeaks. But we are going to stay on the sunset, I think. It would be rude to leave it. Hello, Christine. Thank you for sending through your one-word tweet. And you say that it is pristine. I always find it fascinating how quickly this last section goes, so watch closely. And it doesn't get much better than this, guys. If it is your first time joining us on Safari Live, please let us know. It's always wonderful to hear of somebody that stumbled upon us. And we'll give you a special shout out. So do get a hold of us. All we need now is a lion to start roaring off in the distance. That would seal the deal. Well, I've got some good news. Even though the sun is about to set here, it's not the case down south on Djuma with Tristan. And as our sun dips behind the Olololo escarpment, we are going to be sending you further south till the still bright and sunny South Africa with Tristan and a beautiful young leopard.
It is still bright and sunny. You can see that the sun is still glowing very brightly above the horizon. Now, for those that have just joined us, my name is Tristan, and Husana is still flat and sleepy and is really taking a big nap. He's got this massive belly at the moment, so he looks as though he's like a beach ball lying there. You can see, look at the size of that tummy. Very well-fed individual, and he is lying ever so peacefully in this cool muddy area, and he's got his foot propped up against the bank there. He's had the odd fly problem to deal with this afternoon, but nothing too major. Otherwise, he's had a really good nap. There's been a couple birds that have flown past that haven't even disturbed him, so he really seems to be just enjoying the fact that he's in a bit of shade as it's starting to cool down now. Oh yeah, if a lioness came up towards Hosana, he would first and foremost probably run for his life and try and get out of here and into a tree. But let's say he couldn't get to a tree and he wasn't able to get into any point of safety, the lioness will most certainly try kill him. So they would definitely fight, and the lioness would try kill him. And in fact, the Styx Pride has killed a couple of leopards in this particular area. And then if you go into Londolozi and Malamala to the south of us, well, there's a lot of leopards that have been killed there by lions as well. So a lion is a serious threat for a leopard. Now, there's a bird that's just landed up on the dead tree at the moment. That's one that we don't see very often, so I'm going to ask VM if he can show it to you. So up on the top of that dead leadwood, sorry VM, my fault, there's a presenter light in the way of where VM is at the moment. There we go, VM, is that better? So poor VM is struggling with the light that shines on my face when it's dark, and that's why he couldn't get his zoom rocker in place. But there we go. So there is a purple roller that is sitting on top. Now, these rollers are not birds that we see that often. We see more of the lilac-breasted roller, and as the months are coming now towards December, we'll start to see the European roller. But this is still a very pretty bird. I do like the purple rollers. They've got this white speckled markings. Now, I believe Brent's Cheetah are up, so let's quickly go back to him.
Okay, guys, they've spotted that baby Topi. They're now locked in. Becca, I think it might be also time to let our friends on Facebook join us, as they are heading straight towards that baby Topi. There's actually looks like there could be more than one baby Topi in that herd. I can see one very young, very wobbly on its legs. There we go, the one at the back. And you can see that one's younger than the one in the front. And I think that is, oh, there's a third as well. Third and fourth baby Topi. So there's lots of options for these two, and they are hungry. Welcome everyone. We are with two male cheetah who have just spotted some tiny little baby Topi antelope. They are really hungry. They are hunting, and there we go. You can see the baby Topi there amongst the adults. There's a couple of them that look like they might have even been born today. Now, if you're a predator, this is perfect. My name is Brent, my cameraman is Craig, and we are on a live cheetah hunt. Look at that focus on them. The Topi are inadvertently coming closer and closer. I cannot move my car. They were sleeping, and now all of a sudden they are up. Look at that. The Topi have not seen these cheetah yet. This is very exciting. If you want to ask me a question, just pop it on the feed below. I would love to hear from you. We are in Kenya, in the Masai Mara Game Reserve, in the Mara Triangle. We're right down on in the southern end, close to the border with Tanzania, with the two cheetah, the coalition of two male cheetah that is called the Border Boys. Those Topi are going to run directly opposite. I think the boys thought they were getting really lucky, and the Topi might run directly into them. So there they go. Quite a few zebra as well. Now, the Topi are not running because of the cheetah. They have not spotted the cheetah. It is an absolutely gorgeous evening here. Hi Aiden, who's 6 years old, who wants to know what is a cheetah's favorite food. Aiden, well, like most predators, it's anything they can catch. But normally with cheetah, well, two males, Topi, young wildebeest, young zebra, any baby of any animal, because it's easier to catch. And there's a lot of food around here on this plain. Hi Blade. Blade's wondering why are the cheetah not bothered by me? Do they not notice me? They don't notice me as a person, Blade. I'm in my safari vehicle, which has only been around for about 100 years, so they do not have an instinctive response. However, if I was to get out of the car and they could see my bipedal figure, they would run away. So they're not bothered by my safari vehicle. It doesn't smell like anything to eat, and if you drive carefully and considerately around the animals, they actually completely ignore it. And that goes the same for the Topi and the zebra, oh, excuse me, the lions, hyenas, and everything else out here. Oh, there's a Coke's hartebeest in amongst there as well. Now, this is a cheetah's favorite time of the day to hunt. Heather is wondering, are other herds of animals having babies at the moment like the Topi? No, Heather. There are certain animals that might have babies, such as impala, but in this area they breed all year round. Zebra are having babies, but again, they breed all year round. Topi, almost exclusively September, October. Hi, Chris. Chris says, if the cheetah get one of the baby Topis, will the adults try save it? Sometimes yes, Chris, sometimes no. You never can be 100% sure how that mother is going to react. I have seen them on occasion try save, but on other times I have just seen them get out of there as fast as possible. Now, as I was saying, as it gets a little bit darker, this is the cheetah's favorite time to hunt. They are crepuscular hunters, but like all predators, they will take opportunities at any time of the day, but their favorite time of the day is right now. The last hour before sunset, an hour after sunset, and also going through into the first hour before dawn and the last hour after dawn. They're on the move. Okay. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to try and move I'm not going to drive behind them. I don't want to disturb the hunt, so I'm going to move off to the side to try put us in the best position to see where they might run to. Space was wondering, how often are cheetahs successful on the hunt? More so than lions and leopards. They've got a success rate of above 20%, but the problem is they lose their kills a lot of the time to hyenas and to lions. So I'm just trying to see where they're going. So I want to be where they're going to end up. Now, a lot of the baby Topi have moved off, so they might have spotted something else I can't see. Let's get here. There could be a baby zebra around. How's that, Craig? Okay. So there's a lot of animals around here, spread throughout the plain. My baby Topi are still running around and playing. Hi, Sharon. Sharon would like to know, will they go for one animal or will they split up? Sharon, that completely depends. Sometimes with babies, they might go for two different ones, but if it's something bigger, they'll generally focus on the same animal. There we go, they're now just waiting again. Looking for any sign of weakness amongst the herds. Hi, Ben in North Dakota. Ben is wondering, do cheetahs normally travel in pairs? Well, Ben, males, yes. They form coalitions. It enables them to control a larger home range and defend against other males more easily, and also have access to more females. Females, however, are solitary unless they're with cubs. There is a very brief period of about 6 months to a year. If two females from one mother survive and are become independent from their mother, they will stay together for a while. Sometimes as long as a year, but normally a bit shorter. But when you see two or more adult cheetah together, it's normally a group of males. Now, the biggest coalition of cheetah ever recorded in the world is in the Mara, on the other side of the river, and that is a coalition of 5 males. This was originally 3 males until one was killed by lions. But it looks like they decided the Topi got too far away, so they're going to have a little bit of a play with each other. Yes. Hi, guys. Now, a lot of that playing and touching and grooming is very important when it comes to affirming the bonds in a cheetah coalition. They haven't quite given up on the hunt just yet. Is there a baby zebra right here that I didn't even notice? Craig, just have a look here. Oh, it's maybe not a baby, maybe a sub-adult. Behind. Oh no, they're quite big. Hi, Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear is wondering, how close do the cheetahs like to be before giving chase? A cheetah will run a lot further away than other animals, sometimes as far as 50 or 60 meters, but generally, like with all predators, the closer the better. Now, patience is obviously very important for the big cats when it comes to hunting. If you go too soon, you alert all the animals to your presence, and makes hunting a lot harder. So at the moment, no one knows that the boys are out and on the hunt, and they're just taking their time, seeing if they can pick up any form of weakness amongst the herds, or maybe waiting for it to get a little bit darker, where their eyesight's a little bit better than the Topi and Zebra, and then use that little bit of darkness to their advantage. Oh, swat. That was a very, very friendly swat, that was. Oh, here comes that. Oh, he was going to stretch, and he saw something. And thought, maybe that looks quite good. Now, Eric's wondering, do cheetah lose teeth similar to humans? For example, milk teeth? Indeed, they do. Most of the big cats will lose their milk teeth at around 5 or 6 months old when they're weaned, and then grow their adult teeth. But they only get 2 sets of teeth, just like us. Although we have the added benefit of being able to get new ones from the dentist. They don't. So those teeth are very, very important, of course, because they do use them to get their meals. Very patient boys. Now, if they were younger cheetah, they might have botched it by rushing towards the baby Topi too early. The adults would have been aware and been able to scamper those little ones to safety. Now, for those who might have joined us a little bit late, this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, and it looks like they're going to wait a little bit until it's a bit darker before they attempt to hunt again. But don't worry, we will be right here with them. I'm going to be staying with them after dark. We have infrared technology that enables us to see in the dark, so keep a lookout on that Facebook notification, because you never know when we could be live again. Oh, well, we're going to stick with these beautiful boys. While we do that, let's head back to Tristan, who apparently doesn't need to use infrared lights with Husana.
We don't, Brent. The sun is just dipped over the horizon now, and so it's still quite light, and we can still see Hosana absolutely perfectly. So it is perfect weather, and it's now cooling right down. The wind is settled right down as well, which means that it's going to be good conditions for Hosana probably to start hopefully waking up a little bit. The flies are starting to drive him absolutely crazy. You can see them buzzing around his ear every now and then, and his ear flicking. So I would imagine that we're going to see a situation where Hosana is going to start to wake up slowly but surely. There's a much cooler feel to the air now than there was about half an hour ago. And so what I'm hoping is going to happen is that from here the flies are going to drive him mad enough that he's going to pop his head up and maybe go for a little drink and get a nice bit of moisture, and then from there start to walk around and see what's around him. Although judging by the size of that belly, I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to sleep for the afternoon. It seems as though he's got a really nice full tummy, and so there's not too much motivation for our young boy to move too much from where he is now. Also, it's a good place to be because there will be lots of other animals that potentially could come drink here during the course of the evening, as it's now cooling down. So you'll find things like impalas and yala and various other antelope species slowly but surely making their way towards this area. Now, if you watch his ears carefully, you can actually see the little biting flies landing in his ears and flittering about and absolutely crazy. So they've gone now, but there were some just now that were there. They come. As they land, he'll try and flick his ear as an automatic response. The hairs there are very sensitive, and that's going to absolutely drive him crazy. And so he'll do that for a while, and when it doesn't work, the paw will come and swipe and try and get rid of them, and eventually you'll find he'll start biting and snapping at them to try and get rid of them. Mr. P said you can't believe how big Hosana's gotten. I know, he is getting rather large, isn't he? He's starting to get that bulky male leopard appearance, and it's amazing to have watched him develop. I obviously didn't see much of him as a cub. I did see them fairly young. I think the first time that little cubs.
Oh dear, we're sorry about that. Tristan's vanished, but that's okay. He's going to go off in search of a signal, I'm sure, and we're still with our lovely lion family, the Lioness and 4 cubs who seem to have exhausted themselves after a long day of playing tug-of-war with a blanket. And they're settled with the Lioness. She's now awake, listening and looking in the direction of the first lioness that we saw this afternoon. We're going to wait and we're going to see exactly how this situation plays out. If that other lioness comes back, if she is in fact the mother of the youngest cubs. We still haven't seen them since that first night when the little one yowled constantly. Very, very close to where we are now. And we're just going to wait and see exactly how it all plays out. There's something odd about this lioness that I can't quite put my finger on. She doesn't... I don't quite know what it is. I suppose it could be a sore stomach or something like that. But the way that she moves, it's not a sore limb. She's not limping. But the way that she moves and the way that she shifts her weight around, to me looks like there's something that's uncomfortable. I can't quite work out exactly what it is. I suppose it could even be a strained muscle in her back or something like that, although I think she'd be limping if that was the case. She's not limping. She's just moving gingerly, if that makes any sense. Let me keep a watch on her. See if you can see what I mean when she does get up. And the way that she moves, the way that she sort of gets up and then lies down again. It's like she's moving in slow motion. Might just be that she's tired, I suppose. And not really particularly enthusiastic about things. Now, earlier on, for those of you that perhaps have just jumped on board with our sunset safari, the lioness that we saw, she's probably about 700 odd yards away from where we are now, she was roaring. She roared a few times, actually, and this other lioness didn't respond to her, even though they are pride mates. But now that it's dark, there's a good chance that she will. I'm just going to sit and wait and see. The aim? No, I wouldn't say that lions are the loudest animals in the safari range. They are loud, and something that I learned from our viewers is that it's a roar of 114 decibels in terms of their volume. But I would say that elephants are capable of producing screams that are louder than that of a lion. And of course, it also depends on frequency. Because remember, elephants can produce really low rumbles that actually travel enormous distances, further than a lion's roar can. And it just so happens that it's at a frequency that we can't pick up. So there's different frequencies or different sounds that the animals produce. But an elephant scream or an elephant trumpet, I would say, carries very, very far. I also think a spotted hyena's whoop, because of the pitch that it's at, I think also carries particularly far as well. But a lion roar, there's nothing like a lion roar right next to you. It shakes the entire vehicle. Rebecca says that she thinks our camp is the loudest, or are the loudest animals in the Mara. Certainly your tent, Rebecca. Taylor's moved in with Rebecca for a brief period of time. Rebecca says I'm rude. Brent Leo Smith comes close as well to being the loudest creature in the Mara. Wind's starting to pick up. Good hunting weather for these lionesses. But we're here to see if those cubs come out. Now, typically when the cubs are very, very young, the mother will spend more time with them. She'll actually move backwards and forwards between the den site and wherever the rest of the pride happen to be, and she'll do that quite regularly. As the cubs get older, the frequency of those visits will decrease, and she'll actually possibly only come and visit them twice or maybe 3 times a day to check up on them. She'll visit them at sunset and then she'll come back at sunrise. Obviously that's not an absolute. Just checking to see if she's coming back, but it doesn't look like it. I hope our patience is rewarded. I mean, it has already been. Watching those little ones play is reward in itself. But I really do hope she comes back, because ever since that night that we saw that tiny baby cub, I've been dying to see it again, and I've tried a few times and just not been lucky. I hope that tonight is different. I hope tonight's our night. And back to sleep we go. Oh. There's a hippo moving about that drainage line. That's what I think she's listening to. Yeah, she's just looking at the hippo. It is over there. Can you see it there? No. Is the pole in the way?
Too much glare off my friend the pole.
Okay. Ferg says unfortunately there's too much glare off the roof support. But there is a hippo there that she's looking at. It's even hard for me to see, to be honest. Well, that's what's attracted her attention. 2 buffalo moved through earlier, but they gave the lions a wide berth and left them alone. Being harassed by flies.
Well, he's also just about as sleepy as Jamie's lions by the sounds of things. He's really not done very much. The odd swiping of the paw and the odd rolling around, but otherwise Husana is still sleeping away and sure enjoying the coolness of the encroaching night at this stage of the game. He's probably had a tough day of heat. It's been a warm day, and we've had a few days of cooler weather, so it would have been a bit of a shock to the system. And VM tells me that this morning it was very cold when they started out, and so to have a situation where it's gone up to almost 38, 37 degrees, somewhere around there in Celsius, has really gone quite warm quite quickly, and I believe tomorrow is going to be another hot one as well. And VM assures me that this wind that is blowing the whole day is a sign of changing weather, so I wonder if we're not going to get some more rain coming at some stage soon. I'm sure Hosana would appreciate some more water and some cooler weather again after the sort of hot conditions that we've had over the past sort of 12 hours and continuing through tomorrow and onward in the week. I believe it's going to get as close to sort of 40 degrees, which is I think about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's starting to get up to those summer temperatures. But isn't he cute when he lies like that, when he kind of folds his head down and crosses his paws? He really is a funny little cat, this, and it seems as though the flies are just giving him so much trouble that he's trying to almost tuck his ears in so that they don't go in there, and it stops sort of irritating him and causing him to be uncomfortable. So it's quite funny watching him in the battle of the flies. Janet, you're asking why I think that the lions always seem to have more flies and bugs on them than the leopards do. It's an interesting question, Janet. I'm not 100% sure why that is the case. It's definitely noticeable. I mean, you see, particularly the lions, they tend to have a lot of flies on their muzzles and around their noses. Maybe it's because the leopards are just that much more active at keeping them off you. I mean, you can see Hosana, even though he's sleeping, he's constantly pawing at his face, flicking his ears, whereas lions sometimes just give up and allow the flies to just kind of mass on them. But I'm not 100% sure. It's an interesting kind of observation, and one that certainly holds some truth. But as to why it happens, it's one of those little bush mysteries that we have out here. There's a lot of those kind of things that goes on. Maybe somebody out there has an answer to it, or somebody has studied it. I certainly haven't read anything that sort of suggests as to why lions would be favored over leopard, but maybe there is some reason for it. It also could be the concentration of animals. Generally, lions are in bigger groupings together. That might attract more flies. I'm not 100% sure. It really is quite an interesting sort of thought, and I don't know. I'll do a bit of research and try and see if I can find out, but I honestly have no idea why lions would have more than what leopards do. Megan reckons lions are just stinkier. What do you think, Vildy? You reckon smellier, or do you reckon it's just because there's more of them? Smellier. Yeah, Liam's is nodding his head and he says they're definitely more filthy than what the leopards are, or filthier, should I say. So it is a situation that lions tend to be maybe a little bit more on the manky side, and that's why they end up with a situation where it gets a lot more flies. Now, there's going to be a vehicle that's going to come past us shortly, so I do apologize about the noise as it does meander past our vehicle. Hopefully we don't end up being hit by said vehicle, because it is quite a tight space. But, oh, there your eyes are. We have not, I don't think, seen Hosana with his eyes open since we arrived at the beginning of the sighting. I thought the vehicle might wake him up, but alas, he's back to sleep again. Right, now it sounds like our sleepy cat has been trumped by Jamie's sleepy lions, because they sound like they're getting up and moving, and so before they vanish, let's jump across to Jamie.
Unfortunately, what's even worse is that the sleeping lions are getting up and disappearing. So we thought we'd show you one last glimpse, but I have to say that is literally the last glimpse. There goes the lioness, leading them into the lugger, I think to move them away from the buffalo. There's a whole load of buffalo bulls that have emerged behind me, and I think the lioness has just decided to take the cubs to safety. She might also be taking them to have a drink. That is also possible. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them, Ferg. I think most of them are still behind us. But I think that's it. I think that's the end of our lion sighting, unfortunately. Try move forward, but I suspect we're done. Nope. Nope. Our lions have gone. I'm going to go and find the other lioness, see if she leads us back to the den site. Let's go back to Brent and his cheetah boys.
Well, they walked away from where all the Topi are, and they're having a little rest on top of the crest. A bit of a roll about. They have been licking some buffalo dung. Now, we have seen leopard do that as well, and they use it as a bit of a probiotic to get bacteria into their stomachs. So that's what the one at the back is doing at the moment, licking buffalo dung. Now, Gina's wondering, do cheetah sleep 20 hours like lions do? They do not, Gina. They're far more active. They probably sleep, difficult to say, but I'd say probably 12, 13, maybe 14 hours. They will tend to move now till about 8:39 if they're on patrol, particularly boys. And then they'll sleep through till about 3:34 in the morning. And then they'll be very active again till about 10, and then they might snooze, and they might get moving again. So I'm going to use the spotlight to see if there's anything up ahead of them. And unfortunately, I've got a feeling we might lose them to Tanzania unless they spot something before we get to the border, which is getting closer and closer. So they're just off to the left of us. So you can see this is when our infrared lights are off. Outside, if I turn off that light, you can see it's completely pitch black apart from the light that's shining on me. I don't want to fall in. There we go. See, I don't want to drive into rocks or holes. So I'm not driving directly behind them. I don't want to illuminate them to any possible prey that's around. Or even worse, to lions or anything that might be around as well. Oh, some rocks. There we go. Oh, there's a puddle there as well. A little wallow. We're getting into a bit of a rocky area now. I turn on my top light, so that just helps me see the rocks that I might miss in my headlights while I'm driving off-road and in the dark. Okay, well, oh, hang on. Have they noticed something? I see there's a lot of eyes up ahead of me, and it looks like they've suddenly taken notice. And they've stopped walking. You can see there's quite a bit of wind and the dust that's being brought up from them. Now, I'm not sure what they are yet. They could be zebra, they could be wildebeest, they could be topi. They're a bit far away for me to see, even with the spotlight. Is he still looking that way, thinking about it? I think they are topi that they're looking at. Oh, are we going to have a change of direction? Please, away from the Tanzanian border. No, they seem more interested in patrolling this evening than hunting, even though they are hungry. They're not starving, but they are definitely hungry. I think if the right prey happened to chance upon them, they might take advantage of that. But it looks like they're going to keep moving slightly towards the east. Well, we're going to stick with them. Hopefully they do decide to go have a little dash at something before dinner. But while we do that, let's go across to another absolutely gorgeous spotted cat back on Djuma.
Well, we were looking at the spotted cat when a whole flock of red-billed quellias came over, which has awoken Hosana. There was also something else that disturbed him. He shot bolt upright and was looking, and then he even started to sort of chuff a little bit. So there was some fork-tailed drongos making a noise. We can't see anything else around us. I don't know if maybe he thought the drongos' alarm calling meant another leopard was approaching, that he just started to chuff because he heard them alarm calling. But he definitely woke up and stared in a direction behind us, back towards where that kill was and back towards where Tundi and he were this morning. So I don't know, maybe there's somebody else that's lurking around. It would be really a welcome sight to see another spotted cat ambling towards this waterhole, but at this stage it seems as though he's now lost interest. You can see, I love when leopards look up like that. It's just the best thing. They kind of have this curious sort of stare to them as they look into the trees and look into the sky. Maybe he's also seeing some more of those quellias coming along, but at least we're seeing an awake Hosana rather than a sleepy one. Of course, now he's going to put his head back down. Steffi, you're asking, is there a reason why leopards have no spots on their nose? Is it genetic? Well, there's obviously a genetic element to it that they don't have spots on their nose, but you'll probably find it forms some sort of a function. And now the reason for it is it probably is there. One is to not create a lot of darkness towards the eyes, so more light is being allowed in, particularly at night. You see they've got that white marking underneath the eyes, and so maybe a cleaner nose is just helping with getting light in. You see he's a bit jumpy, isn't he? He's kind of looking in that direction, a lot of staring happening, and he seems to be a bit on the jumpy side, but there's probably something to do with the light, allowing light in, as well as the fact that for camouflage purposes you might find that maybe that coloration, if it was too spotty, might just allow him to be seen as he kind of picks his nose up over the grass when they're looking at prey animals. Sometimes they'll kind of flatten their head down and they try and pick their nose up, and those spots might give him away, particularly in the dry, brown, wintry grass. Could be something to do with that as well, but it will be a genetic reason, that they have different spots on their faces, and some will have a few spots closer towards the sort of bridge of the nose, and others will have some that encroach just on the sides of the nose. That is all genetic, but the reason why most leopards don't have spots on the nose itself is probably something to do with light coming into their eyes, as well as camouflage reasons. I don't think Hosana is going to lie here much longer. I think the flies are irritating him beyond all belief. So I think he's going to get to a situation where he's going to get tired of them. We're going to start seeing him possibly yawning. And then from there, maybe he's going to take us on an evening stroll along one of these roads. Now, it's going to be interesting to see where he heads from here. I surmise he might head towards Treehouse and along that direction. He could obviously head back towards Pan side and Twin Dams, but I think he's going to go to Treehouse. He hasn't been to Treehouse for quite some time, and so that's where I think he's going to go. Now, there are some frogs calling here, and for the life of me, I can't remember which ones they are. There are a lot of different types of frogs, and they make a lot of interesting calls, and because of the rain that we've had, I would imagine that some of them are starting to come out, and it's one of those things where you've got to try and jog one's memory. They're not calling currently now, they've just stopped, but you've got to kind of jog your memory again from summer to remember all of the calls, and I'm just trying to think of which call it could be. So I've got my frog app out, and I'm just trying to get some of the calls out. So if you hear random calls, it is me. I'm trying to work out which one it is. No, it's not them. So I thought it might be golden leaf folding frog, but it's not them. I'm just trying to think which other one it could have been. Now, the noise you're hearing now is actually an insect. That's not a frog at all. The frogs were calling just now. They've stopped completely, though. So we'll just wait. If I hear them again, then we'll try and keep quiet so that you can all hear them as well. But it's so good to be hearing frogs again. I absolutely love doing a bit of frogging and looking for them and listening to them. The best thing in this deep summer is when you park at one of these pans and this cacophony of noise that comes out. It's deafening as you sit here and you try and work out all these different species of frogs that are calling. It's quite wonderful. And last year we had the most amazing bullfrogs that were all over the place after the drought, and they were wrestling and fighting and mating, and it was really interesting to watch. And I think we had a couple mornings where we sat with frogs for quite some time, and so hopefully we're going to get more of that this year. I'm really hoping we're going to see quite a number of bullfrogs, and hopefully lots of other different species of frogs as well, from the stream frogs to the cassinas and all the others that go along with them. Husana, what's going on? He seems very jumpy. He almost seems as though he's a bit aware. Maybe it's because he hasn't spent much time in this particular area for quite a while. You know, he's been spending a lot of time around Twin Dams and Treehouse, but we haven't seen him really walking around this section very much at all recently, and so maybe he's just a bit nervous of what's going on. You might be also wondering where Tundi is, and you know, it's one of those situations where the flies annoying him already, and now any other sounds around him could potentially mean that he's getting a little bit on the sort of wary side, and that's why he's a bit jumpy. At least it's nice that he's waking up a bit. It's a good sign for us, and like I say, hopefully he's going to take us on an afternoon stroll. I'm surprised that we actually haven't seen any antelope moving to this area. This is a favorite pan for the Nyala. You tend to find Nyala drink here quite a lot. It might be that the Nyala have got other places that they're drinking at the moment in the Mulawati area, and that's why they haven't come to this section just yet. But I'm surprised. Generally see them there, but look at how beautiful that sky is. Proud cat mama. Domestic cats and leopards, I suppose there are some behaviors that are shared, and that are kind of, you see in both of them, from, you know, sharpening of claws on trees to the way that they, you know, scent mark. Their mating behaviors are pretty similar, and then, you know, when catching flies like this, a domestic cat would do the exact same thing if flies were around it. Grooming processes are very similar on both domestic cats and big cats, so there are a lot of similarities, yes. There's obviously a few differences as well. Domestic cats have it a lot easier than what you see from these bigger cats, but they are essentially very, very similar in the way that they behave, in the way that they go about things. And, you know, obviously there's slight differences in the lions, in terms of that they are quite sort of tight-knit, bonded pride units, as opposed to leopards that are more solitary, which is, I suppose, a bit more like domestic cats. Domestic cats, even though they live in households sometimes with other cats, they tend to be more on their own kind of mission and do their own thing and try and move around on their own accord. They don't really walk around in prides together. They might join up for feeding time and food time, but otherwise not really too worried. So there are a lot of similarities in like I say, in their sort of daily life, but there's also a lot of differences in the way they go about things too. But you can see a small yawn starting. I don't think it's going to be long and Hosana is going to be up and moving. I think we have got a few more minutes, and then he's going to be walking. But while we wait for him to wake up and decide to start moving around and take us for a walk, I believe Jamie's lions have started to wake up, started to groom, and are doing their best in Hosana impression.
She is indeed doing a Husana impression, cleaning her paws and cleaning her face, which I assume is what Husana's been up to as he starts to wake up. This is the lioness that we stopped at first, a little bit further downstream from where the second lioness and those 4 cubs disappeared. And while we've lost them, we still have her. And she was particularly vocal earlier this afternoon, so I'm hoping that she might continue to roar. I don't think she's the mother of the little cubs, and the reason that I don't think that, although it's hard to tell with infrared light, but I don't think it's her because I don't see any suckle marks. So I don't think that this lioness has cubs, which means we're missing one lioness, which would be the mother of the little ones. She could have been lying in that drainage line the entire time, although I don't think so. Actually, maybe she does have suckle marks. Take that back. Could be. It is hard to tell with infrared light. I don't know. It's all very mysterious, but true to form, just as our lioness is waking up, it sounds like Hosana is doing the same.
Well, Hosana is now up and moving just like we thought he would be. He's just doing a little toilet time first. After a big meal, one does have to go to the toilet and just get rid of any of the excess weight that they've got before starting their afternoon or evenings moving around. So I think he's just going to finish up with that, and then we'll start to see him walking and doing his journey. Now it looks like he's going to head in the direction that I thought he would, which is westwards towards Treehouse Dam side. Now the interesting thing about this is there are tracks for a female leopard on Philemon's cut line from last night, which I presumed was Shadow's tracks. Apparently they go down towards Treehouse Dam. Obviously it could have been Tundi. Apparently they did turn back more towards the east, so it could be Tundi. But it's going to be interesting when he gets to, if he does go that way and he gets those tracks, whether he's going to pick it up and then try and double back and follow the scent of those tracks. But unfortunately for us, if he does head down the road, we're going to have to drive past that landmine that he's just laid, which is not going to smell very pleasant. So we'll have to block our noses as we go past. When leopards and lions go to the toilet, it's never a fun experience having to drive past 2 minutes later. You can see he's directly in front of us at the moment. The nice thing is that the wind is blowing south, so it's not blowing towards us, and we don't have to smell it while he's busy. We can just wait for him to... Whatever's happening there, it must be a fairly large caliber, because that took quite a while. And there we go, he's now off and ready to go, so we can now follow him. I just want, no, don't lie in the middle of the road right next to your dung. So Sammy Jane, you say evacuation? Yes, well, I think it would be pertinent to evacuate when you hear or when you smell one of these. They really are horrific smelling bombs that leave behind. The cats are all known to leave rather nasty surprises, so hopefully it's not going to smell too bad. I'm sure it won't be great, but let's hope it doesn't smell too bad. Now, I'm going to need... Oh, you're going to flop down right there now. Okay. Fair enough, you can flop down there if you want to. There's still a bit of yawning going on, so he's looking up into the trees and just having a bit of a scan around, so maybe he's just decided, not quite sure where I'm heading to just yet. I just felt like lying in a different place. Maybe he's trying to get away from the flies around that water hole, and that's why he's just moved a little bit and come and lay down here. You can see he is panting a little bit, so still on the warm side, and also again full bellied, so there will be a bit of panting, but you can see that male kind of roundness and bulkiness is definitely starting to come through. He's starting to look quite imposing, isn't he? He's lost that cub face and he's now got a more serious male leopard stare to him, and he's fast becoming a decent sized individual. Oh, big yawn. You can see those teeth are still big and white and healthy. Elsko, I'm not 100% sure. I would say Hosana probably weighs in the region of maybe 60 60 kilograms would be my guess. He could weigh a little bit more than that, but I would say about 60 kilograms is where I would guess that he is at the moment. It's about the size. He's not too far off some of the females in terms of being a little bit bigger than them, and a really large female out here would be about 45 kilograms to 50 kilograms, so he's about that sort of range. I think slightly heavier than the females given his bulk. This is not going to be easy. So where he's going though is an absolute nightmare, and I'm going to have to try and figure out a way to keep up with him. I thought there was a gap here. I seem to remember there being a gap here, but maybe it's over the months. Last time I drove through here was quite some time ago at Angama, and so you might have a situation where the Ellies have been a little bit busy and have closed a few sort of routes up. Now, there's a bit of water here. Are you going to come towards this area, Hosana? I don't think so. Now, with water, he's already been at a pan now, so chances of him coming to a water hole is probably quite slim. I don't think he'll want to drink. He would have just drank where he was lying if he wanted water. So it's more of a case that he's probably going to head down into this drainage line, which for us is going to be very difficult to follow. Now, I've lost him already. He went in somewhere over here and is headed in this general vicinity. So while I try and find him and get back on his tail, let's go back to Brent Smith with the other spotted cat.
Well, here we go. Now, our spotted cats have got a shadow. You see that little eye bopping around at the back there as a jackal, look like a little black-backed jackal. There we go. Now, as I said, unfortunately, we might lose our cats to Tanzania. I'm parked on the boundary, but I am hoping they decide to show disdain to the actual boundary posts, which cheetah quite often do in this area. It's a great place to scent mark. I've even seen a cheetah sitting on top of it before. Okay, there we go. Sniffy, sniffy, sniffy. James is wondering, what is the average cheetah territory size compared to that of somewhere like the Kruger? It's quite similar, James. For males, around 120,000 acres. Females, probably a bit bigger. There we go. I didn't think they'd be able to resist the boundary post. And into Tanzania. Well, that's the end of that. They decided, obviously, the hunting's better in Tanzania this evening. And he's still marching. Yes, he's marching into the darkness to the southwest. Now, they'll probably be back in Kenya in a couple of days as they continue on their patrols. So at least we know they're in Tanzania now, which means I won't come looking for them for probably 3 days or so, maybe 4 before they cross back into Kenya. Oh, we're going to have a flop down there. So, oh, yeah, that looks very nice. Craig and I are about as far away from home as you can get in the Mara Triangle. So we're going to start slowly heading back towards the north as our cheetah head towards the south. While our cheetahs are up and walking away, Jamie's lions are doing the exact opposite.
She is doing, well, the exact opposite. She's not walking anywhere, but she is contact calling. Very softly and almost like she's doing it half in her sleep. Not a full roar yet, although lions do often build up that way. Especially in the early evening, they start with these soft contact calls that then build to a full roar. I'm hoping she's going to do it before the end of the sunset safari. I don't know. I found it odd that she was roaring when she was roaring, and now she's not roaring when she should be roaring, which just goes to show they like to keep us guessing. I don't know why she's lying here all on her own. Maybe she got tired of the cubs. I just don't know. I'm not quite sure what the explanation is. Close to the other female, but just a bit far. JBG, not that I know of. Not unrelated prides. So the question is, would two lion prides, or have two lion prides ever combined in the past to create one lion pride? I suppose perhaps if you go back in history, maybe there's been one or two examples of it in Africa that's been recorded. I don't think it would happen, and most of the time I think that if it did happen, what you'll find was that the lionesses combining with the rest of the pride would probably have been originally from that pride. So sometimes what happens during a takeover is the lioness moves away with her cubs, and she can stay away for up to a year before she returns to her original pride, and that's to protect her cubs from new males. And it's a difficult time for her because she's got to raise the cubs on her own, or sometimes with another lioness. And then once those cubs are big enough to move away, or to be safe from the attentions of the new males, then she'll return and rejoin the rest of the pride. So that's the only situation where you're going to get two lion prides fusing. And it's actually in essence because they come from the same pride. Maybe there have been situations where one lioness has been, perhaps the rest of her pride has been killed, she's young, she encounters another group of young lionesses, and perhaps they might join together, but it's not nearly as common as it happens with young males. I don't know what Brent has, but it sounds interesting. Let's go and find out.
Well, it's my second spotted cat for the evening, and the smallest of the spotted cats in the Mara, but I do love their massive ears. So there we go, a little Serval, not far from where we left the cheetah. Look at those massive ears to pick up all the rodents in the grass. I'm just going to lift my spotlight for a second. I think he heard something. Now, I just carried on a little bit further down here in hopes of a white hyena or a leucistic hyena. Oh, look, he's disappearing, sneaking off. That's a Tanzanian Serval as well. They're still right on the border. Oh, they are gorgeous. And Craig, on our way home, are we going to find Leopard and Caracal? And to end, or to see all the cats in one day. I've never managed to do that so far. The most I've ever got is everything except Caracal. Beautiful. And I've got a feeling I have lost comms with Rebecca. Oh no, I haven't. Oh, something gave it a fright. There we go. Jamal says, can you get one and train it as your pet? I'm sure it's possible, Jamal, but it's not very nice for the animal. A lot of the wild animals are meant to be wild and free and not kept in captivity. So I'm sure it is probably possible. The African wildcat is the predecessor of domestic cats. So it is possible, but I think it's better to leave the animals out wild. Okay, I'm just going to change spotlights quickly. So I've got two. I've got my normal, and then I've got my big one. Oh, and I've lost sight of the Serval now. It's disappeared into some long grass. But let's go across to Jamie so you can say goodbye with a lion.
Come on, Lioness, you've got 60 seconds. No, you've got 120 seconds to give us a roar. I don't think she's going to, though. I think she has very much gone back to sleep. I didn't do it. Yes, I've seen lionesses sneeze on multiple occasions. What is that? How quickly can we find out what that is, Ferg? Yes, I've seen lionesses sneeze. I've seen male lions sneeze. I haven't managed to sneeze. It's a white-tailed mongoose. How's that for a surprise ending? There we go. That wasn't what I was expecting, but there we have it. A nocturnal solitary species of mongoose. Marvellous. It's actually moving along and scent marking. I've seen pretty much all lions sneeze. The funniest thing to see is when they're roaring and then they sneeze. That's hilarious. Sorry, Fergus, I'm not doing a very good job on focusing our spotlight here. Cool. Very, very cool. Okay, evening has fallen, our lioness has not called, and it's time for us to do our farewells and our thank you. Thank you very much, Ferg, for your wonderful camera work, and thank you to Rebecca in Final Control, and of course our team back on Djuma and the rest of the team in the Mara. Most importantly, the biggest thank you goes to all of you. Thank you for sending through your questions, your comments, and all of your jokes. We look forward to seeing you for the sunrise safari tomorrow.